Whenever I try to do a video like this, I always wind up finding myself in a situation where I can't comment on what I'm doing the video about. In other words, I see something I want to comment about. I really want to comment about it, and politics moves at the speed of light, and I have no passion or interest, or I feel like I'm too late to comment about a certain subject. This is kind of where I find myself right now in regards to the whole Joe Biden presidency. I voted for Donald Trump. I do not want a Joe Biden presidency. A Joe Biden presidency would absolutely be devastating for this country, and unlike what a Trump presidency would do. Now, you may argue that under a Trump presidency, everything has fallen apart, and that's a fair argument. But it's actually not really a fair argument. It's fair in the regard that a lot of the collapse of America is happening under the Trump administration, but it isn't happening because of Trump. It's something that's been happening for decades now. The erosion of our constitutional rights, our democracy, or our republic, what the values that our institutions stand on has been eroding for a long time. Joe Biden is the establishment who is behind the erosion of our society for all of these decades. He is what led to Donald Trump. And while I would personally take up the position of actually liking Donald Trump and some of the things that he has to say, a lot of his ideas, his positions that he wants to implement. If you look at his entire policy platform for his second term, they're mostly things that I agree with and I want to see implemented. Notably, American exceptionalism. I also love how Donald Trump banned critical race theory from government, something that I think absolutely needs to be addressed, absolutely needs to be shunned in order to stop the erosion of our democracy, of our republic, of American values in general.
This is the simplest way to understand critical race theories. It's essentially Marxism with a white supremacist tint. It assumes that the whites are the bourgeoisie of race and calls on all the people of color to form a coalition and unite against them and overthrow, abolishing the idea of whiteness. Essentially, the people of color are the proletariat and whites are the ultimate oppressors. But this is why it's also similar to white supremacy, because it assumes that whites can only be the oppressors, can only own all the land, and can only oppress the proletariat. Which is racist as fuck.
Joe Biden is not a real president. What he is a puppet for the elites. And Donald Trump has a lot of these accusations of him. I don't think that Donald Trump is controlled. You may disagree or not. But even if you do disagree, even if you hate Donald Trump, a Joe Biden presidency would be absolutely worse. He would be the first president to be voted in by hate and not by an actual fan base. Something that's been coming up recently is the idea that, and it's not even just an idea, it's a very well substantiated idea. It's literal fact. The fact of the matter is that progressives, 45% of the Democratic Party absolutely hates Joe Biden. Another 50-ish% who voted Joe Biden in because he's not Trump, who doesn't really pay attention to politics for whatever reason. They don't like Joe Biden, they hate Trump. And Trump has a whopping 75 million supporter base. 80% of Donald Trump's voter base, 75 is the number that we have right now, but 80% of that voted for him because he's bringing something to the table that they like. And, you know, policy-wise. And this is just a general estimate. Trump actually has support from supporters. And this is one of the reasons why I am not opposed to Trump going through a House delegation victory. Biden doesn't actually have supporters. Biden has people who hate Trump who voted for him. And again, I do not believe those numbers are legitimate. And that's another reason why you should probably be concerned. But let's get into the nitty-gritty details. Biden is one of the core culprits in eroding this constitutional republic. If you don't know what Joe Biden's past was, he was a former segregationist. He opposed any sort of racial integration. He opposed busing. He wrote the 1994 crime bill under the Clinton administration. He also, under the Clinton administration, I'm not sure if you knew this, the Democrats sold our manufacturing to China in an attempt to liberalize China, but what it does is actually destroy our middle class, what we soon come to realize. Another reason why Trump was elected to begin with, because a lot of people saw what was happening to their jobs, and they had enough of the rich elite. And now we're in where we are right now, where inequality is at its highest point ever. What can we expect about a Joe Biden presidency? I'm absolutely scared of this because of what we saw under Obama. Obama was an absolute warmonger. He was the worst person you could possibly put in office. Now, I don't necessarily blame anyone who voted for him in 2008. His foreign policy is the worst that you could possibly ever imagine. Massive prosecution of whistleblowers. He overthrew Gaddafi in Libya. He bombed Libya. And from that, it created a power vacuum, which helped ISIS and Al-Qaeda, probably intentionally, considering the fact that he was funding ISIS and Al-Qaeda, our enemies. It reinstated slave trade in that region, something that was outlawed because Gaddafi is a secular, I believe he's a socialist. This actually worsened things in the Middle East. And consistently, all of the foreign policy decisions made under Obama was absolutely criminal. It didn't help to restore peace in the Middle East like Trump did. Trump actually signed 3 historic peace agreements. Under a Biden presidency, he would immediately strip away that those peace deals, restarting conflict in the Middle East. Already, Joe Biden has big oil, big tech, and all of these other corporate lobbyists on his cabinet. Also warmongers, of course. He would put us back into the worst trade deals that we found ourselves in, including NAFTA. I'm not sure if you know this, but actually Barack Obama was son to one of the most richest people in the world, 50 most richest people in the world, Lolo Soetoro. He's probably even richer than Trump. That's the game that the establishment plays with you, these establishment politicians. They created this perception, even regardless of Barack Obama's not well-known wealth status that was passed down from his oil baron father, that because Trump is an open billionaire, he brags about his wealth. They use that to attack him and make it seem like he's the fascist dictator. The populace has the impression that Trump is constantly getting ourselves into wars. World War III, World War III, World War III. Meanwhile, every single president besides Trump and since Carter has gotten us into new wars. He stabilized the Middle East. That's the reason why 5% more Muslims voted for Trump. It was 35% of Muslims, according to exit polls, voted for Trump. And it was only 30% of Jews, despite all of Trump's pandering to Israel and stuff. This is what I'm most afraid of. Come February, we will see massive destabilization. What we'll see is now more right-wing protests, especially since the lockdowns will come in and they'll destroy businesses. Conservatives will take up arms. And especially when the vaccine comes in and fear-mongering or what have you, or actual legitimate concerns from Christians over the mark of the beast come into play. And it will become much more terrifying, because it will become war. Right now, only the left is waging war against the establishment. The right has come out a few times to voice their opposition. But that's not even the worst concern of mine. Antifa, regardless, it's the state I'm worried about. I'm worried about Andrew Cuomo and Gretchen Whitmer sending in the National Guard against Trump-supporting conservatives who are exercising their right to protest. But even worse, the one thing that has kept the Democrats together was Trump, but also white nationalists. They've been trying to get the KKK, and under Trump, this has actually happened. The KKK is designated as a terrorist organization. And what happens now when Trump supporters go ahead and exercise their right to protest by taking up arms? well, they'll be treated as terrorists by the National Guard, wouldn't they? Now, I'm not sure exactly how things will play out. Obviously, that's to come in the future. But we're staring down a terrifying reality in our country. And here we are. We're at a point where our democracy, our republic is falling apart because of the tribalness. What's actually going to happen under a Joe Biden presidency? The left, the far left, however you want to call it, the socialistic left, I suppose, the Black Lives Matter people, they started harassing Biden and Harris supporters like the day after election night. They are going to attack you at your homes in normal settings. Cancel culture will only get worse. Critical race theory won't be expelled from government. So you better believe that it will creep into every single business that you ever go to as well. Joe Biden has a documented history of racism that the 1994 crime bill has been cited as the single most obvious proof of systemic racism in our country. You have BLM, the people who are fighting against systemic racism, actually campaigned for Joe Biden, while President Trump has consistently shown his support over the many years, the many decades for gay marriage, for the gay community, for the LGBT community. In 2000, he actually endorsed gay marriage, and even before that, in the AIDS epidemic, President Trump was the one who was one of the few who actually, donated to them. Joe Biden has opposed gay marriage up until it was legalized. That's mind-blowing. How is the person who opposed gay marriage up until it was legalized because it was politically expedient the one who's pro-gay? Meanwhile, Trump, who was literally been in support of LGBT rights for decades, how is he the anti-LGBT candidate? How is this happening? How is this happening? It's a PR stunt. Distortion of reality, gaslighting from the media, who is the propaganda wing of the Democratic Party. It has a stranglehold on how you think. I do not believe that Trump is a saint, but I don't believe he's evil either. Biden, however, he doesn't have any beliefs. He's changed it 100 times. This is what I'm afraid of under Joe Biden presidency. Subscribe if you're new. Like I said, I'm more active on Instagram and Twitter, and also Parler than I am on YouTube. But I do want to go ahead. Hopefully after this election, guys. Hopefully after this election, hopefully politics don't go as fast as it usually does, and I could sit down, I could edit shit after that. Hopefully that day comes where things just like, okay, there's some here and there, but I can go ahead and I can make more comprehensive pieces. Thank you very much. Like I said, subscribe. Have a great day. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.